Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our technical announcement of Colorway this evening from broadcasting live from London. If you want to interact with us tonight, please use the hashtag TFColorway. We are actually giving away prizes tonight and for the next couple of weeks. So I'm just going to model this. I think you could possibly see that our lovely guest presenters are wearing this as well. So if you send us a question that is interesting, fun, creative, you're eligible for one of these. Also, over the coming weeks, if you're creating items in Colorway, which you will find out more about in a moment, you will also get one of these. So please interact with us tonight. Let us know where you are. Please use the hashtag TFColorway. We're just going to go to a quick video now. We'll be back with you in 3 minutes.
What I do, da da do, da da do. What I do, da da do, da da do. What I do, da da do, da da do.
Okay, so that was the teaser that got you all talking last week. I am now very, 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 excited to announce that we're going to jump into a few little things tonight. But before we start, I want to introduce Mr. Matt Brealey, who has been working incredibly long hours with the Colorway team, who actually, some of them sitting in the room, you can't see them, they're behind the cameras. Hello, there are humans here. So Matt Brealey started life in 3D. You were very small. Yeah. It was 10 years ago, about 10 years ago. Matt also demoed for us at IBC 2010, and we loved what he did so much that we hired him on the spot. And he came to work for the Foundry, and he has had lots of roles here, but this has been your labour of love. Yeah. So Matt is going to talk through a few elements about Colorway. We also have the wonderful Andy Brown. Round of applause for Andy Brown. He came down from Newcastle this morning. Thank you, Andy. Some of you are probably familiar with Andy already because he's very big in the Modo world and the Modo community. Some of you may not have seen his face or just heard his voice. Now, here is his face. The guys are going to do a presentation, an overview, and a demo as well of Colorway. But before we jump into that, we've got a message from the wonderful Brad Peebler. He is, I hope he's watching right now. If you are, hello. We're just going to jump to Brad's video, and then we're going to jump into the evening. Please, again, interact with us. Ask questions. There's going to be a question slot at the end for about 10 minutes using hashtag TFColorway. So over to Mr. Peebler.
Hi, I'm Brad Peebler with the Foundry, and today I'm here to introduce to you Colorway. Now, if you're familiar with the Foundry, you probably know us as the world's leader in image compositing, image processing, and general image manipulation technologies. Or if you're a designer coming to the Foundry, you might know us for our product Modo, advanced modeling, 3D animation, rendering, visualization at the highest end. But Colorway, if you're a designer, Colorway is already speaking your language. Just in the name, you probably have an idea what it's all about. Colorway was the first product here at the Foundry that was designed and developed from the ground up with designers in mind. Now, what does that mean, developed for designers, specifically for designers? Well, a long time ago, I was speaking to a designer by the name of Gary Fitzgerald. And Gary said something that stuck with me ever since. He said, designers are always looking for the right tool to make the right decision at the right time. And to me, that's what Colorway is all about. It's all about improving the design decision process. And whether you are making the design decisions on your own or working with a team, or other decision makers, it's all about iteration. And the faster you can iterate, the better your design. And that's what Colorway is all about. So iterating design process decisions is the end goal. But let me tell you something. Creating software for designers is a daunting task. Because designers require technology at the highest level of quality, but they also require incredibly smooth workflows. The tool has got to get out of the way of the creative process. And you know, ironically, easy is often the hardest thing to do. So what you're going to see today is really just the beginning. And I'm personally very excited about this project because of what it represents. It represents the first true cross-pollination from Modo to Nuke internally at the Foundry, leveraging the knowledge and the technologies across 3D and 2D to create something brand new, specifically for designers. And that's another thing I'm very excited about, is that this shows our true commitment as a company to the design market. Good stuff. Now, Colorway as an application, as a workflow, it stands alone as a powerful statement, but it also points an important vector to the future. And after all, The future of 3D is 2D. Well, maybe it's 2.5D. At any rate, let's get this party started, shall we? Enjoy.
Well, thank you very much, Brad, for that video. It would be great if the wall was changing color in the background, but we'll get to that in a bit. So, hello. Yes, as Beck said, I'm Matt. I'm the product manager of COLORWAY here at the Foundry. We are going to talk about COLORWAY in a little bit, but just before we do, I'd like to chat a little bit up front about why we made it. So to do that, I need to tell you a little bit about myself and kind of my experiences with design as well. I used to be a freelance 3D modeler, and I used to do kind of hard surface modeling. I was awful at organic modeling, so I never did it. And I did hard surface modeling for product designers kind of around the world. And one of the things with that, after doing it for a few years, is I realized I was doing the same thing over and over and over again, which is essentially the process of getting client feedback, making changes, and re-rendering. And when I came to the Foundry, through speaking to other companies, other clients, other kind of designers, I realized that it's not just me. It's a very common thing throughout lots of industries, product design, industrial design, architectural design, even things like visual effects as well. So what is that loop that I'm talking about? So if I have a quick look, I don't have many slides for you, not a massive fan of slides, but I do have a few very important ones. So this thing that I'm calling the iterative design loop. So essentially what you do is you start in 3D, you do 3D stuff. So you design your 3D model, you might do some shading on it, maybe create some lights on it, set that all up, and when that's done, as we all know, we render out. We'd all love it if that happened immediately. Maybe one day it will, but right now obviously it doesn't, which sucks. You definitely know what I'm talking about. You know, usually if you're putting it to a quality that the client is going to see, you're going to render it for a fair amount of time to get a decent quality level. So, you know, being generous, it could be a few hours. Being slightly more realistic, it's probably a little bit more than that. So after the render process, of course, there's the waiting for that to complete, and we'll come back to the waiting in a minute. The next step is that once the render's completed, you have a quick look at it. You might do a basic grade on it before you throw it to a client, maybe, and then you throw it over to them. When that is done, as I said, my clients were kind of distributed a little bit around the world when I was doing 3D modeling stuff. So again, more waiting, always fun. And eventually they would see it, and they would get some feedback to me, and I would receive notes back from the client. So what happens then? Well, basically in this loop, we go all the way back to the top and we do the whole thing again. We go to 3D, we make some changes, we re-render, which sucks. We do more waiting, which sucks, and just go round and round and round in this loop. And for me, there's really kind of 3 pain points in this loop, 3 features that I kind of want to kind of point out to you. First one, waiting. Waiting sucks. So this sucks for the 3D artist, because me, as the 3D artist, having to wait every time the client sends me some feedback saying things like, okay, can I rotate that texture a little bit that way? Can I scale it up a bit? Can I make that more red, please? Me having to completely re-render that from scratch sucks. Me having to re-render the entire thing, horrible. I hate it. So that is not good for me. I could be using my computer for better things, essentially making more money as a freelancer, which is, at the end of the day, what it's all about. The second part of the waiting is the fact that the client doesn't like it either. For them, they've made a very simple command. They've kind of given me some very simple notes. Basically, can I move that over there a little bit and make it more slightly red? That doesn't seem too hard to them. But us knowing about 3D, we know we have to re-render the entire thing again and again and again. So it's not good for the artist. It's not good for the client. All this takes time. The thing at the bottom there, getting notes from the client. You're never going to get a note back which says, OK, Matt, make that red 23, green 112, blue 255, please. It's never going to be that. It's always going to be things like, OK, can you make it slightly yellowy? Can you make that light over there slightly brighter? Those stripes, don't like those stripes. Can we change that for kind of like a square pattern, please? So that's another pain point. And basically, all of these things take time, and they cause me, the 3D artist, kind of pain, and they cause the client kind of frustration a little bit as well. So COLORWAY is designed to take a look at those 3 things and kind of help you out with it. I told you we'd be chatting about COLORWAY in a minute, so here we go. So what are we going to be taking a look at today in Andy Brown's wonderful demo? Well, we're going to be showing you, first of all, 2 desktop applications. The first one is called COLORWAY. Now, COLORWAY, it's on Mac and Windows, and it's essentially the application that I, as the 3D artist, will sit in front of. So I render out a scene, put it into COLORWAY, and I can do a number of things inside of it. I can change colors, add decals and textures on specific parts of my scene, specific materials. I can change lighting, I can add custom effects on top of my render. I can store out different variations of my image extremely quickly. That is Colorway. So all of that in real time, extraordinarily fast changes to your scene. The second application we're going to be showing in a second in Andy's demo is Colorway Presenter. Now this is slightly different. Now essentially Colorway sits with the 3D artist. Colorway Presenter is designed to sit with the client, which is a kind of really interesting workflow. So instead of giving the client infinite control over every single thing in your scene, which would be insane, what we allow you to do is set things up in Colorway in such a way that you can say, I only want them to have control over this, this, and this, and I only want them to see this color, and this color to choose from. So we're going to see that in a second. We're also going to take a look at a way to generate content for Colorway, which is the Colorway kit for Modo. So this is a way to open your scene files inside of Modo, basically tag the parts that you're interested in changing the color on, tag the lights that you're interested in as well, and render out to disk, to a DCI format, which is the deep color image format that Colorway reads. There's also two other things that I'm going to tell you about. We won't be showing them today. They're coming later on down the line a little bit, in my lovely coming soon section. The first thing essentially is another way to generate content for Colorway. So if you've been to any of the Foundry's events before, product launches, etc., you'll know that we know that people in their pipelines have other products too. We don't like to kind of lock you into just Foundry stuff. We're very good like that. So what we're doing is putting together a Colorway kit for Cinema 4D as well, which is very cool. And we've been working with the Maxon guys on that a little bit, so big thank you to those guys too. Second thing coming soon. Now we've got Colorway Presenter in this workflow that sits on Mac or on Windows. That's very awesome, obviously. But what might be kind of more interesting for some people is the idea to have that mobile. So we're also going to have a Colorway Presenter for iPad too that will do exactly the same thing as Colorway Presenter on desktop. It will allow your clients to load the file that you set up, choose between different options, change light settings, and push all of that back, as we'll see in a second. So that is what Colorway is. Just quickly, before I pass off to Andy Brown's wonderful demo, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the design flow that now comes with Colorway. So the first thing, we have that iterative loop. Not very good, slightly time wasting. Now it's less of a loop, it's more of a flow. Flows are better. Flows are very 2014. So at the top of the flow, you still have do 3D stuff. You're always going to have to make the stuff in 3D. You're going to shade it, you're going to light it. But the important thing is that you use either the Modo kit, which you'll see in a second, or the Cinema 4D kit to render out to a Colorway format. Now that does take a little bit more of a render time hit up front, but by the time you've made 3 or 4 variations, you've more than made up for it, believe me. And once you've rendered to Colorway, you then put it into Colorway, and there's multitude of workflows that you could use. I know Andy's going to show you one in a second where you do pretty much all of the color design directly inside of Colorway. But in this case, we're going to a client. So I'm going to edit and prepare that scene, change the colors. Maybe it's just the colors that are actually available for the objects that I'm showing in my image. Maybe they can only be manufactured in 10 colors or so. Why show the client anything else if you can just show them that 10? It makes a lot of sense. So with that done, I would send that setup Colorway scene over to my client, who would then view the possible colors that I've set up for them in Colorway Presenter, at the moment on desktop, later on down the line on iPad as well. And then they would send their looks back to me. So we've got this system of sending back a very small snippet of the file back from Colorway Presenter into Colorway. It's not a massive file. It's very easily emailable by your client back into the application, inside of Colorway, I can then review exactly what your client has set up. Very cool. The last thing that I want to touch on that we'll see today is one more feature of it, which is awesome, which is the fact that not only can you send from Colorway Presenter all of that information back into Colorway, but you can also send everything from Colorway directly back into 3D too. And that's pretty cool because it means that your client no longer has the opportunity to say, well, I asked you to use this red and you seem to have used a different red over here, so can you please re-render it? Because now you know that the red that was used in Colorway Presenter is the red that was used in Colorway, is the red that gets pushed back directly to 3D automatically for you. So that is pretty much all I've got to say up front. I'm going to pass you off to Andy Brown, but just quickly before I do, I want to say 2 quick thank yous. So first one, all of the beta testers, even those who have been added in the last week, have been extraordinarily helpful with all their feedback. So thank you to those. A quick clap thank you very much. A special shout out to Richard Yott and Tomas Leoczynski for the wonderful assets that we're shipping with Colorful Colorway as well. And second thank you to, Bex already said it, but the devs, everyone who's touched the product in any way possible. Support, devs, QA, everybody. It's been fantastic, and it's incredible where it is for version 1, so I'm incredibly happy with it, so thank you again. So with that said, I'll pass over to the wonderful Mr. Andy Brown for a beautiful demo.
Okay.
Cool.
Let's get rid of PowerPoint.
Always a good plan.
Okay, so as Matt was saying, everything for Colorway begins in 3D. You know, we need to feed Colorway with rendered images from a 3D application. And at the moment, it's going to be from Modo. So I'll just open up a little scene here. It's a scene of a coffee machine. And it's just a regular Modo scene. We've set it up, we've created materials, we've created an environment, we've set up our lighting. If I just let preview work a little bit there, you can see we've got the shading on the materials, but we haven't done any of the coloring or any of the actual texture mapping, because we want to do all of that inside of Colorway. And actually, what I was doing there with preview is actually quite integral to the whole problem, because in 3D we have preview renderers, you know, that help to speed up the rendering process, but it's not instantaneous. There's always waiting involved, whether it be hitting render and waiting for the thing to finish, or watching a preview gradually refine to something that we can make a decision about. The beauty of Colorway is once that's in there, once we've done this rendering up front and it's in Colorway, the changes that you can make are basically instantaneous. They're as fast as you can think. Okay, so this is a basic scene, and the whole system works by tagging aspects of the scene that you then want to manipulate in Colorway later on. So the first thing would be materials. So we might not want to tag all of the materials for Colorway. We might just want to tag some very specific ones, you know, some ones that we maybe not quite sure of and we want somebody else to make the decision on. So let's select some materials. Okay, select those, and then with the Colorway kit, which is this button at the top of the UI, we have a number of options. So we've got an option at the top for tagging selected materials, and as soon as we do that, those materials become highlighted. And that's all we've got to do for the materials. Now we can also tag lights, so they can be adjusted inside of Colorway. But there's actually some interesting ways we can approach this. So what we can do is create light groups. So if you want to be able to manipulate a number of lights as one light inside of Colorway, then we can just group them. So if I select these two area lights, come to Modo's groups palette here and create a new group, and I'll call this area lights, get my caps lock off, lights, right, there we go. Hit OK, we've created the group, we can go back to the kit and we can tag that light group, and that becomes highlighted. So then we can go back and just select the rest of the direct light sources, go back to the kit and tag selected lights. Now when you're lighting a scene, you don't always use direct light sources all the time. You know, often you'll use luminous geometry to light a scene, particularly if you're doing architectural work. So inside of Modo, I've got a mesh here, which is a luminous polygon. Now to make it luminous, I have to create a material. That material gets created in the shader tree there, and then I need to give it a luminous intensity value. So I'll just give it a value of 5. So now if I select that material and then tag it as a material, when Modo renders this scene, it's going to see that that material has a luminous intensity to it, and it's going to treat it as a light when it renders the file. Okay, so with all of that set up, I just need to go to Colorway, hit render scene for Colorway, and then I can go away and have a cup of tea, or go home and wait for it to finish. But the point is, all of that rendering has now been done up front, and we can come back in when it's finished, and now we can really get to work. Okay, so I'll just close that scene down, and we'll get into Colorway. So let's open up Colorway, and I'll open up that scene, that finished rendered scene. So straight away you can see this is a wonderfully simple UI, and all of a sudden, as a creative person, I feel very at home here. This is a nice place to be. It's not intimidating at all. It's not full of menus and words I don't really understand and values I think we'll ever shift that. What's going to happen? I don't know. You know, it's a really nice place to be. I'm happy here. We've just got the image in the middle of the UI and these icons at the bottom. So if I just drag my cursor over this image, you can see that areas are highlight. Now these are the materials that I tagged inside of Modo, so I can edit them inside of Colorway. And if I click on this cube, I get a list of all of those individual parts. So you've got a kind of a visual reference of where those parts are in the scene, in the image. Also, if I click on the light bulb, I've got a list of all the lights that I tagged. So I come to the bottom here. I've got my area lights right group that I created. I've also got the luminous polygon as a separate light. And what's great is I can start adjusting these lights. So if I select this one, I might think that actually let's make it a bit bigger on the screen so we can see it. I might want to adjust the intensity of that highlight a little bit, knock it down a bit. I might want to get rid of that luminous polygon completely. So we can adjust the intensities, but we can also adjust the colors of the lights. So if I select this one here, let's make the background a complete neutral gray. I can adjust the color with the color wheel here. So we've got a nice neutral starting point. We've got these little icons on these lights, and we can, if I click on the M, it hides that light, and if I click on the S, it then just shows the effect of that individual light on the scene as well. So it's a really nice way of lighting the scene without using a preview renderer inside your 3D application, and it's instantaneous. Okay, so what happens when I actually select one of these parts? Well, if I click on the side of this coffee maker, I get this head-up display with a sphere, which is the material that's applied to that part, and then this color wheel. And if I drag around in the color wheel, I can change the color of that part. If I click on the cross here, I create a new material, and then I can create another color, and so on and so forth. But what's really nice about that is when I create a new material, it takes the color of the one that was previously highlighted. So if I click again, it's green. So I can now just make a slight adjustment maybe. Let's do another one, another slight adjustment. So you can very quickly build up kind of a palette of colors which are a very similar hue. And then you can click on those colors in the HUD and quickly cycle through them to kind of, to make a decision about, well, maybe I might use that green, like that one, I don't like that one. If you don't like particular materials, you can just get rid of them on the HUD just by dragging them off the HUD and releasing. So you can get all the way back to the beginning. So let's just make that white. Okay, so the HUD is really good for working on materials locally. So working on materials just on a kind of a per part basis in the scene. But if we click on the paint bucket, we get a list of all the materials that has been created in that scene. And this is a really nice area for working on materials globally across many different items at the same time. So let's create a material in here. Actually, I'll just create a material in this list. And let's make a red. And then I want to apply that red material to a number of different parts. So if I select this material here, I can drag and drop that onto the part, and that becomes part of that head-up display. I can do the same with this one, that one, and that one. So because I've used that multiple times, it's now very easy to change that material. So if I just select it here, and I can now use the color wheel at the bottom. So now as I change that color, it's changing the color on all the parts that that material has been applied to. So a very easy kind of global change. So up to now we've just been creating colors. That's all we've been doing. But texturing's much more involved than that. It's about applying patterns, image maps. Really important, integral design part of any kind of design, really. And we can do that inside of COLORWAY, and it's almost like magic. So if I click on the side of the coffee maker, I want to apply an image map to that. So I can come down to texture, and from the dialog, I can go to my image directory here, and let's load in a carbon fiber image map. Click open, and you see immediately it gets applied to that part. Now, if that part of the model has been UV'd, then that UV information will come across through into COLORWAY. So any textures that you apply to that part will use that UV map, right? And, which is fantastic for applying, graphic-based artwork. So we've got some other controls here for that texture. We can tile it. We can scale that texture very easily. We can rotate it if we want to. So like Matt was saying, if the client gets back to you and says, can you just rotate those stripes a little bit more? Yeah, no problem. Now, one thing about a texture is it gets multiplied over the material. So if I go back to the color and then change that base color, you can see that color coming through that texture. Now, a decal is slightly different because a decal is placed just layered on top of that material below it, and it will use any alpha that's available in that image. So if I load an image, I've got a graphic of a flower here. So I'll load that in. That gets applied straight on top of that texture. And I can still go back to the texture and change that and rotate it. I can also go back and delete that texture, go back to the color, change the color underneath, and you can see the color of the flower isn't changing because it's just being placed on top. Okay, so let's create a look for this coffee maker. I actually quite like that pink with the red. It's quite nice. Let's carry on with it. Let's carry on with the pink.
That's good.
Sold. All right, let's. I'll put some pink there.
Beautiful, Andy.
Pink's the new black.
It's beautiful.
Right. So what's quite nice here is I can then change the color of the background to kind of complement everything that's going on in the scene. So let's go back to lighting. We'll select this light and let's put some color in here. Ooh. Yeah. Nice. Right. So I've made some decisions there, but now I want to save everything that I've done there. So if I click on this icon, I get what's called the looks palette. And to create a look, I just click on the cross, and that creates a thumbnail, and that's saved all of those decisions that I've made. I can then carry on and start changing things and create a completely new look for this coffee maker. Alternatively, if I want to use the look that I've just created and then change it ever so slightly, I can come in here and duplicate the look. Select the material I want to change, create a new material. Let's make that white. And then what I can do then is push that change back into that look by clicking on this equals icon. So you can build up really subtle changes very, very quickly like that. Okay, so let's imagine that I spent a bit longer creating some looks.
This is where the Scooby-Doo wavy stuff comes in, isn't it?
I tell you, it's addictive because you can just keep on going. And we'll open up this scene. Okay, so if I go open up the looks panel here, we've got loads of looks in here for this coffee maker. And what's nice is I can cycle through those looks with the left and right arrow buttons, so you can very quickly see all of the decisions that have been made there. We can also apply filter effects on top of these. So if I click on the camera and hit the cross, we've got a number of filters in here, and I imagine that list is going to increase over time as the program develops. So let's add a vignette over top of that. I can change the scale. Let's soften it up a little bit. Maybe that's a bit too much. A bit bigger. And then we can add a bloom to that. A little bit of soft focus. There we go.
Nice.
That just sells it, doesn't it?
That is something right there.
Now those filter effects have been applied over every single look in the file. So now that we've got all those looks, we need to kind of output them in some way so we can do something with them. Whether it might be print them out and put them on a wall to show people, or email them to somebody. So what we can do is go to File, and we can render. We choose a resolution, choose our format. Where we want to put them, it's going to append the look name to the image and also put the file format, and then we just hit render. So instead of sitting and waiting for the 3D application to render all of those different looks and doing all of those changes, we've done it straight out of COLORWAY very, very quickly, and we've got all of those looks in there. There we go. How quick was that? Okay, so that's the Modo to COLORWAY workflow. So as Matt was saying, what we're doing in Colorway at the moment is we've got this kind of infinite color wheel, and it's almost like a bit of a toy.
Yeah.
Playing around with it, you're getting all excited about all these different
Definitely.
colours and things we can do. But in the reality of production is you only want to give, well, there's only going to be a certain number of decisions that you're going to have to make. So you're going to be basically you're going to be limited to the decisions you're going to have to make. And that might be for production reasons. Mm-hmm. It might be for, you know, certain things can only be manufactured in one colour or two colours. There might be a certain season of colours that you have to choose from. And this is where Colorway Presenter comes in. So if I just close that scene and open up this scene. So this is the same kind of blank scene that came out of Modo. I've just made a few little changes. If I go to the parts, I've locked out two of those parts. So these are two parts that I don't want somebody to make any decisions over. You know, they're parts that, you know, the color can't change. So I've just locked those out. Same with the lights. I've locked all the lights out apart from the background lights, because when I give this to somebody, I don't want them to spend hours messing around with the lights and, you know, making it look pretty. I want them to make decisions about the colors. It gives them the option to change the color of the background to make the image look nice, but you know, it's kind of focusing them to exactly the decisions that they need to make. So what I do is I just send that file to whoever it's going to be. It might be my boss, it might be my client, and for tonight
it's going to be me, right?
Matt is my boss.
I will be the guy who
So
doesn't know about 3D, I think.
Well, there we go. I'm going to pass you over.
Okay, so forget everything I know. So I'm going to go into Colorway Presenter, and I'm going to open up that file from Andy. So obviously, inside of Colorway, Andy has set up different parts for me that I can edit. So if I go to my parts list, I don't see the ones that Andy has locked. If I go to my lights list, I only see those two lights. Only those two there because Andy's locked the rest of them. If I click on some parts in my main viewport, you can see I don't get that infinite color wheel. I'm not getting infinite choice. I've only got the exact materials that Andy has set up for me. So with that in mind, I'm going to create some quick looks. So I'm going to go in and say, okay, maybe I like that one. Maybe with the red, white, maybe. Throw some red on the front. I think this is looking good. Pretty happy with this so far. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty good. So I'm going to store that as a look. And I'm going to call this one really like the red. Seriously like the red. I'm going to go back to my original. And I'm going to come in and maybe we'll try this one. It's like that as well. That's really cool. Obviously, I don't get the control over the materials, the texturing, the tiling. That's all done on Andy's end. It's all set up for me. So let's try this with maybe some blue at the front, maybe black on the front there, and on the top as well. Like that. Maybe we want to kind of change the colors of our lights as well. Let's see, maybe push that a bit more greeny. That looks pretty nice. Pretty happy with that too. So I'm going to go back in. Call this one blue, which is very descriptive, as you can imagine. Really like that one. Maybe I want to update the lights on my red look, so I'm going to go in quickly and change the color on that as well, because that looks pretty sexy, doesn't it? Like That's pretty nice. So I'm just going to update that. And when I'm done, all I need to do is send this over to Andy. So I'm going to quickly come up to File, Export to Colorway. I'm going to call this Matt's Favorite Looks. I would email that over to Andy, and then Andy would pick it back up in Colorway.
All right, so I've just received an email with that file attached. So I'll open up Colorway. We'll open up the file. Let me find it now. Oops. Okay. Open up that file that I sent. That's not the one.
Let's have a look. I may have saved
What have you done?
I may have inadvertently saved it. We can save this. It's okay. It's okay. Ignore the man behind the curtain. It's fine. Okay.
Right.
Andy opens it up in Colorway on his local copy, which doesn't have my changes in. But ignore that. We'll go back. It'll be fine. That's a very clean look.
So we've got the basic file that I sent him original. So I go in and I go Import from Presenter, select Matt's Favorite Looks, and open, and they come straight in. And now I've got access to all the changes that I want to do, and also I can render those out, and for review or whatever.
Perfect.
Now, the final part, the final piece in the jigsaw is being able to get those looks back into 3D. So if I go to File, I can go Export to 3D. Let's call these Matte 3D. Hit Save. And now if I go into Modo and open up that file that I'd created with all of the parts tagged, I can now come to the kit and click Import Looks from Colorway, select that file, open it up. I've just got to place the images in a certain point on disk, and when I've done that, the looks come in.
That's
and we've got all of those decisions now live in 3D, so we can carry on working. Now each of those files that we export come in as a pass group, and then each look is inside each of those pass groups. So I can just quickly change to another look. There we go, and all the materials change, and that updates as well. And any texturing that we do, we'll layer on top of those looks inside of the shader tree.
So at this point, you might want to go out to like a high-res print for, you know, billboard advertising or something like that. And you can get your final design once it's signed off by the client and push that straight out to a re-render. So I think that's it.
Okay, that's it.
I think we're done. Good work. Yes.
I need you
Right,
to bounce
back
that
over
Let's
side.
move on. Switch up.
We're getting cozy on the
Get
side.
Yeah,
working.
absolutely.
So, Lucy, you gals have been managing.
I have. What do you want to know first? So I can tell you where people are from, a few comments, and then go to questions.
From comments.
Okay, where are they from? So we've got lots of people on from all over the place.
Lordy.
Some person is watching us from Israel, and apparently things are going off there. So thank you for taking the time to watch us. We've got lots of people in the States, lots of people here in the UK. We've got so many people I can't even begin to tell us. But Germany, Canada, Brazil, Spain, Mexico, France, Poland, Netherlands, Russia, Sweden, Belgium, Ukraine, India, Finland, Austria, Greece, Denmark, South Africa, Hungary, Japan, Italy, Slovakia,
Australia.
Argentina, Costa Rica, Kuwait, Aruba, Korea, Switzerland, Venezuela, Lithuania, Romania, Belarus. This is like the Eurovision Song Contest. Armenia, Norway, Croatia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Colombia, and Peru. So hello to all of you.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you.
Going to the record.
Okay, comments.
So just a
Who
few.
wins a t-shirt?
Well, there's quite a few people potentially winning t-shirts. We haven't made our final decision.
Always good.
But just thought I'd say a few little comments first. So first of all, thanks obviously to Brad for our video earlier on.
Yes, thank you, Brad.
A couple of people shouting out saying, Mike Campow, who I know Brad knows quite well, says that you're looking good, Brad, even in the orange. Apparently he sort of thinks maybe you can change that quite easily in Colorway.
Excellent.
And someone expected actually that when you were going to get out the chair, Brad, that you might have changed the colours, but we never got that far with the video. Matt, lots of people saying they recognise you from the tutorials. And that you do
Awesome.
Andy Brown, you're rocking it for the Newcastle gang.
Definitely.
And
So cool.
yeah,
Smiley
so
face.
cool. And also Tomaz, whose lovely coffee machine
awesome.
we've been demoing, is very happy that his scene is in the wondrous hands of Andy Brown, who's his Modo guru.
Yeah.
So he's very excited about
Thank
that.
you, Thomas.
Yeah,
My
cheers.
favourite Twitter handle so far of the night is Scared of Salad. So hello, Scared of Salad. Who says that Modo's giving him all the tools he needs as a product designer to stay in Modo, which is where he wants to be. And where else would you want to be? So don't be scared of salad, I'd say. But
Good.
yeah, it's good for you.
Yeah.
As long as you mix it in with some other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shall we? People excited about the iPad app. People think their clients are going to be excited about Presenter. Very excited. Lots of excited people. So shall we move to questions?
Let's
Okay.
just hold this.
I know, I feel like I'm looking down. I'll look up. I've got a really horrible bloodshot eye in one eye, so don't look that way. It's like Prometheus. Bex, do you get super nervous before these events?
Yes. Very.
Okay. Colorway seems to cater to tweak-happy designers. Can it accommodate the high resolutions required for print? I think you just answered that question.
Yes, I think so. So the aim is that you round trip essentially back into Modo with your color changes. we've tested it up to certain limitations and stuff. It's good up to, I think, about 4K at the moment. Obviously, we're looking to kind of maybe improve on that as we go forwards. But yeah, we'll always come back to 3D for the really, really super high-res stuff at the moment.
Okay. Next question is from Kevin J, who says, he asked this question right at the beginning. He said he knew he had to wait till the end. He was asking it anyway.
Choices.
Can he change the environment image, say one that's used for reflections?
That would be very interesting. That would be a very nice thing for us to take a look at, perhaps.
Okay. So does that mean not right now?
Not right now, no. If we're honest, not right now for version 1, but yes, it would be very, very interesting.
Okay. What, so Companion Cube, I think that's how we say his handle, wants to know what AOV have to be rendered out of V-Ray, Arnold, MR, Octane, etc. to be compatible with Colorway?
Well, that is a very sneaky question. There are a few bits of secret sauce, let's say this, there are a few bits of secret sauce going on to get your Colorway renders done. Obviously, I think, Brad said this at the 801 Mono launch. He said, if you put Colorway in the hands of a mid to senior comp guy, they're probably going to pick out a couple of the tricks that we're using internally. The whole idea is that as soon as we show those kind of same things to designers, they've never seen that before. And I think, you visited someone recently and you said that they were jumping around like hyperactive children. Oh, yeah. That was the quote, which is always good to hear, because they just don't know that you can do those kind of changes, those kind of tweaks. So yes, is that a vague enough answer?
I think that's probably
excellent, perfect.
A great answer.
Perfect, okay,
well
thank
done,
you.
Matt, well
Good.
done. Does Colorway have motion properties? Can you change colors over time?
Not in version 1, but that would be quite cool as well, definitely.
Yes,
because, well, this person...
Andy wants it.
Heller Studios says, if so, this would be invaluable.
Excellent.
So
Heller Studios, okay. You'll be the first person we show it to if it happens.
Okay, another question. When can I get my hands on it? And I can answer this one right now.
Excellent.
You can go to our website, so thefoundry.co.uk/colorway, and you can download it right now and have a play with it. So that's the answer to that. The next question I'm getting quite a few times is, how much does it cost?
Also a good question.
So to answer that question, we haven't decided yet, is the honest answer. You can download it, as I said, today from the website, and we're making it free to all of you just now until such time as we're ready to commercially release it. And as we approach that, we will be announcing pricing. So unfortunately, it's still a secret.
Yeah, but you all get to play with it.
It's
That's
even
the
a
good
secret
thing.
for us at the moment. And the next question being, when does it release? So far, we're committing to this year.
Yes.
So hopefully sooner than that, well, in terms of closer to now than the end of the year, but we're definitely committing to this year.
Yeah. I think that's the thing to say on that as well is, in the meantime, you guys get to play with it, every aspect of it, essentially, that we've shown you today, and your feedback's going to be invaluable throughout that process. So, yeah, definitely download and play.
Yeah, we're looking for all of you to tell us what you think and guide us over the next little while.
Yeah.
One other question coming in, which is, any controls for adjusting texture, lightness, contrast, etc.?
Not just yet. Again, another very good feature. We'll put it on the list.
Wow, all these questions are good.
It's good, yeah.
Do you want
it's
another
great.
one?
Yeah, absolutely. More the merrier.
What does Colorway offer that sets it apart from similar packages like Motiva?
Very good question. So for us, for me personally, I think the color changing aspects of this are almost secondary to the design, iteration, variation, workflow of it. I don't know another tool that does that aspect of the workflow, essentially, and able to kind of, if Andy was my client, I could give him all the options. And as a client, you'd particularly be used to just a still image, critiquing that and pushing it back. Whereas with Colorway, you can sit with a live version of that image, seeing exactly what I've set up for him. And I really think that makes it very, very unique. The fact that all that pushes back to 3D as well, also pretty cool.
Okay, I think that's... Oh. Something's just come in.
Hot off the press.
Hot off the press. Don't you just love the 20th century?
Absolutely.
Where is it?
That one.
Ah. Okay, someone's saying they hope Mari fits into the Colorway plan somehow.
Yeah.
Is there any thoughts around that?
Is that a question? Yes.
Or are there any thoughts around that? Is that
potentially going forwards. I think, for now we're just kind of concentrating until we get, the commercial release of Colorway. We're trying to get that workflow kind of nailed down and as good as we possibly can for everybody. But yes, we are having the same thoughts as you, let's say that.
So someone who I think might be sitting in this room, because we do have genuine, real live customers in the room, has tweeted that they can't wait for a Maya compatible version.
Very cool.
But
we should chat. We'll chat in a minute.
Then also added that maybe he should just learn Modo.
There is that. I mean, chat to this guy as well. I mean, he's your man.
But there's lots of compliments on the UI, so well done to all the development team here at the Foundry. Everyone thinks it looks really clean. Someone said it looks like Keyshot meets Photoshop.
Excellent.
That's a nice compliment. Yeah, lots of nice things everybody's got to say. So it's been a really positive response in general out there in the Twitter sphere. Thanks very much to everyone who's been interacting with us tonight. And don't stop now.
No.
I know we're here in London, but we have some people in the US to keep chatting with you.
Yeah.
This is just like a telethon.
Exactly like a telethon. But there will be people in our Redwood City office that are going to be manning the hashtag via Twitter and Facebook for the next. What time are we now?
It's now about.
Whenever it's home time over on the West Coast.
A good few
and then
hours,
we'll catch up in the morning. So, yes.
Perfect.
So I think that's it.
Unless anyone
anyone got any questions here? You're just enjoying.
I like the t-shirt.
Thank you, Ash. It's very good, isn't it? I wonder.
That's not a question. That's a comment.
Someone has actually said something about the t-shirt, so let me actually give you a genuine compliment, because that was from the person who designed the t-shirt. Somebody, look, here we go. The nice thing about the shirts is the simplicity. I love it. I don't normally wear product t-shirts, but I would those.
Hey.
I think alt skin, I think it is, will definitely be getting you a t-shirt.
Yeah, we'll get you a t-shirt.
And that will be specially from Ash, who designed it.
Hey. Okay, so do please keep adding questions. Any questions that you've got or any comments that you've got, please do use the Twitter and Facebook account for that, for using the hashtag as well. And also, I believe, Emma, there's a space in the community. Is that correct as well? So if you're creating anything using Colorway and you want to share, am I getting this right? I hope so. Yeah, that you can like post up there. So just keep that going. And again, things that we really love, that we like the sound of, t-shirts will be coming your way. We do have a limited supply, albeit that everywhere I'm looking right now, it's blue. So that's kind of mad. So just quickly before we say goodnight, I just want to say can you all give a round of applause, including wherever you're sitting, for Matt and Andy? Also to the dev team, well done. Hooray! A round of applause as well to Brad. Also, thank you, lovely people over in the corner who've been manning the feeds. Also, thank you, Jordan, Stuart, Ash, and Lucia, who have been doing all the production for this. Thank you very much. You're awesome. Okay, so before we go, I believe we've got another little video, but we're all going to say goodnight now. Everyone's going to finish their beers, and I think you're going to go home.
I'm going to go home
to bed.
Sleep.
You're actually going to go to sleep now, aren't you? So until next time, thank you very much, and have a lovely day wherever you are. Stay safe, and we will see you soon somewhere in the world. Bye.
Hey guys, I'm Matt. I'm the Colorway product manager here at the Foundry, and before I tell you a bit more about Colorway, I'd like to tell you a little about why we built it. This is William. He wants to refurbish his living room and hires John to do the interior design. William wants something modern, light and airy with a blue feature wall. John builds a 3D version of what he thinks William will like. William is out of the country, however, so John renders the file and emails it to William. William likes what he sees, but he thinks the bright blue of the walls is a little too much. He also wants the sofa to be a brighter colour. John reworks and re-renders the scene to incorporate William's changes and emails him back. This takes several hours, as the re-render is a long process. William likes the sofa, but the blue is still not quite what he wants. John then creates 6 completely re-rendered images with various types of sky blue walls and sends this back. He cannot get these changes to William until the next day, as he has to leave the images rendering overnight. William is frustrated, as he thinks John doesn't understand what he wants and is taking a long time to get back to him. John's frustrated as he didn't find the brief particularly detailed, so spending a lot of time re-rendering out potential options for William. So what if we'd done this with Colorway? John receives William's initial brief and creates a 3D scene in Colorway that gives William a selection of material options to choose from. He intentionally includes only the material options that he can actually provide. John directs William to the free download of Colorway Presenter. William can then open the Colorway file and choose from the options John has provided before sending the file back to John. This dramatically reduces the time spent rendering and emailing back and forth. It also enables William to clearly communicate his feedback. Everyone is happy. At its core, rendering a Colorway file from any supported 3D application gives you control not only over the colours of the selected parts of your image, but also over any textures and decals that are applied to them as well. We also give you full control over the colours and intensities of any lights in your scene and allow you to apply custom effects on top of all changes that you've made in your image, all of this in real time. This now means that producing multiple variations of an image, something that originally could have taken days, can now be done in a matter of minutes. And all of those stored variations, or looks, can then easily be batch rendered out to disk to show to your client, or alternatively to discuss amongst your own design team. For more interactive feedback, Colorway Presenter can be used to select from options that were predefined inside of Colorway. This gives your clients and colleagues the power to more clearly communicate their feedback.